As miserable as you are, Mormont, at least your father was a good man.
What you know about my father?
How do they put it in the watch? We shall never see his like again. Oh. You didn't know.
Jorah has been living in exile for so long that he's compartmentalized his past, and he probably tries not to think about it because it's a series of painful memories, and none of those memories is more painful than his estrangement from his father and the way in which he let his father and his family, his house down.
This is a man who grew up in a very military culture, who learned to keep his emotions very close to the chest. And now he's faced with one of the worst pieces of news he's ever received, the news of his father's violent death. And there's just nothing to say, really. I mean, it's so much inside. And to make matters worse, the one person he could talk to about it is his captive. And he's not going to have a long heart-to-heart dialogue with Tyrion Lannister, of all people. It's just this great internal moment for that actor. Watching Ian process the news, it's one of my favorite moments in the episode because it's not about the writing at all. It's all about Ian's face and the pain that he's able to convey without any words.
Name me Warden of the North.
I'll speak to the king this evening. Have him issue a royal decree.
I'll not rest until the lion flies over Winterfell.
And I'll know you're a man of your word when I see Sansa Stark's head on a spike.
As I said, I live to serve.
It's hard to see any real loyalty he has to anyone other than himself. In a story filled with ambitious characters, it's hard to think of anyone more ambitious than Littlefinger and more cunning in his pursuit of fulfilling his ambition.
It's a quintessentially Littlefingerian moment in that he's doing something completely unexpected, something that has a sense of motivation behind it, but there's no way to tell what his real motivation is until you get to the end of the scene and you realize his real motivation is what Littlefinger's motivation always is, which is furthering the naked self-interest of Littlefinger and moving him closer to more power.
And this is someone who started with very little, with no family and essentially no money, and has managed to work his way up into a position of great power. So he's a very intriguing character. He's managed to figure out a way to get himself into those circles of the powerful families, and he's also realized that the only way he's going to become the most powerful of them is if he can somehow play them off against each other and induce them to destroy each other. And that involves playing all sides at once.
Who comes before the old gods this night?
Sansa of the House Stark comes here to be wed.
As Roose Bolton said earlier in the season, the best way to create an alliance among the various powerful houses is not through violence, it's not through skinning a man alive, it's not through warfare, it's by marriage.
Marriage is politics by other means in this world. Marriage is the way that alliances are made and cemented and held.
For Roose Bolton and for Ramsay Bolton, Sansa Stark's incredibly important because she symbolizes the Old North, you know, and they're the New North. But a lot of people in this part of the country don't have any affection for the Boltons. They're considered usurpers and traitors. And the way that Roose feels he can legitimize the family claim is to marry his son to, as far as he knows, the last remaining daughter of the Stark clan, and that's Sansa. Looking at Dany and Meereen, she's facing a real tricky dilemma insofar as she's trying to create stability in the city where she's a foreigner. You know, she's an outside power who's come in with a foreign army, and she's seized power, and half the city about hates her. So the way she's trying to stem this civil war is in part by police action and in part by marrying the head of an ancient family and creating an alliance with those old families. Actually try to bring them onto her side by marrying Hizdahr.
She doesn't like Hizdahr, she doesn't trust Hizdahr, but she shows enough wisdom to understand that she's not going to get this done by smashing heads alone. She's going to need to create ties to this world that she wants to be a part of and to rule, and she understands that marriage is the way to do that.
A Lannister and a Martell. They have no idea how dangerous that is.
Unlike Dany or Sansa, Myrcella is a complete pawn in somebody else's game.
It was purely, let's create an alliance between our house and the Martells, try to bring Dorne back into the fold. And then, by sheer luck, Myrcella and Tristan ended up becoming attracted to each other and falling in love.
This causes some problems, of course, when Jaime comes down to Dorne, expecting that he is rescuing his niece from a prison and finds out that what he's really trying to do is yank her out of this wonderful, dreamlike situation that she's found herself in.
She's just a young girl in love, and there's nothing cynical about it. There's nothing beyond that.